Welcome everyone. We are starting the webinar now. My name is Sushil Kumar. I'm representing Path Infotech and I will be moderating the webinar today. I would like to thank you for joining us. I hope you are staying at home and taking care of yourself and your loved ones. Next slide, please. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Your lines will remain muted during this session. If you have any questions during the presentations, please type them into the question box in your control panel. The Q&A round at end of the session and we will address your questions at that time. Next slide, please. So as we all know, today's webinar is on integration and this will be an integration webinar series, which we would be doing in 4 parts. And today's webinar is for CXO, where we would be talking about first hour in a day for CXO. And similarly, we would be having separate sessions for business head, technology heads, and employees. Next slide, please. Now I would like to introduce our two wonderful speakers of webinar today. We have Mr. Tarun Agarwal, a technology enthusiast with a great people management skills. Tarun Agarwal has a board experience of 30 plus years in industry with 29 years as a director at Path Infotech. He looked up as a visionary leader and a great mentor and held in high esteem both by his peers as well as juniors. Hi Tarun, how are you doing? Glad to have you here.
Yeah, hi Sushil. Thank you for having me here for this webinar. It's my pleasure to be part of this webinar series.
Thanks. We also have Mr. Harvinder Gandhi, who is a group CIO at Orex. He has rich IT experience of 25 years in system and technology, operational risk and control and compliance. Hi Harvinder, welcome.
Hi Sushil, thank you so much for the quick introduction.
Now I would request Tarun to take the journey forward and give us an insightful session. Over to you, Tarun.
Hi, thank you, Sushil. Harvinder, welcome to this webinar, and it is pleasure to be rather speaking and participating with you in these webinar series on integration. Love to really share your views as well as some insights into the data aspect as well as the integration aspect. Welcome again, Harvinder, to this webinar.
Thank you, Tarun. I'm really doing good, and I hope the pandemic and work culture from home has really changed life for all of us now. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to share the virtual dice with you now. It's always a pleasure to exchange ideas with you, Tarun. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Harvinder. Moving on, I think the most important aspect to quickly touch upon is the intrusion of data into our day-to-day lives. So there are two different personas which are visible on the screen. One is a personal persona, the other is a professional persona. In both of these personas, we actually end up using lots of data-enabled application systems and content, media, whatever you call. Eventually, everything is data. So if I look at the personal persona, we are actually doing day-to-day transactions using any of those financial platforms or payment gateways or shopping carts or buying some goods. We are looking at news channels. We are also looking at lots of media which is getting streamed to our devices or to our home TVs, whether it is Netflix, YouTube, Prime Video, Apple TV. All those are nothing but eventually the underlying medium to really feel this explosion of information is data. So from a personal perspective, every day unknowingly we are actually consuming tons and tons of data. On the other hand, if you look at the professional side of each of us, we are definitely exposed to the mailing solutions, which is the backbone of communication today. We are exposed to lots of collaborating solutions like Zoom, GoToWebinar, Cisco, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, WhatsApp. Apart from this, as a professional, I'm also exposed to a lot of enterprise applications, which are my single source of truth. I'm exposed to lots of other applications which could be through my partners or vendors or suppliers. So it could be a supply chain application, it could be a very simple procurement application, it could be a customer portal, it could be an internal intranet portal for the employees or for the organization. All these together are also generating huge amount of data, and these applications, they actually run primarily into silos, but the integration technology platform has enabled uh, all of us to actually see a single view or maybe a multiple view of this data on our handheld devices, on tablets or on laptops. So that's one of the very interesting thing which has actually emerged over the last probably a decade, the explosion of data into our day-to-day lives. So before moving ahead, let's have a very quick poll on today's topic. Over to you, Sushil.
Sure, Tarun. So there would be a poll on your screen right now. Please take a moment to answer the question. Thank you so much, everyone. Tarun, you can proceed.
Thanks, Sushil. Now, let's come back to the topic of today's discussion. It is basically the first hour in CXO's life. So today's CXOs are actually doing tons of activities in order to provide actionable insights onto the organization, working culture, organization performance, organization health, the standard operating processes, the team, the employees, setting up norms for personal working, the devising strategies for long term and short term. So what we have done is we have just highlighted 6 elements which are key to CXO's, I'll say, responsibilities, but I think it is more than responsibilities. It's a 360-degree ownership the CXOs actually today have towards their board, where they are responsible for the performance, the operational part of the organization, and how the business is actually going to move ahead in coming quarters or coming years. So they are actually answerable to the board. They are also required to have a constant interaction with external stakeholders from a long-term perspective and short-term perspective both, in terms of ensuring the supply chain is working fine, in terms of ensuring the access of information to all the stakeholders. For internal stakeholders like employees and the team, the CXOs are responsible for defining the work culture. They're responsible for defining how we actually interact internally and externally. They also participate, rather guide the internal team to define standard operating procedures. There are lots of dynamics which are involved in setting up the processes. There are dynamics involved in team creation and teams management. On top of it, once we have all this in place, most important aspect the CXO that requires today from a decision making perspective when a CXO starts a day is the health of the organization. Most importantly, in today's COVID times, cash flow is becoming very critical. So if the CXO has got access to a real-time insights on how the cash flow of the organization is, the CXOs can really plan better cash management. If the CXOs have got access to the operational and the productivity efficiency within the organization, the CXOs can plan the strategy and optimize on profitability or ROI on the asset deployed or the capital deployed within the organization. So organization health, organization strategy, organization needs are actually 100% defined, or maybe in collaborative approach with the board and the stakeholders. which will actually take the organization forward. On top of it, today's CXOs are also responsible for creating the corporate strategy. Corporate strategy in the current times have actually, I would say, has turned almost 360 degrees. No one would have expected that the entire world would actually go into a lockdown for weeks and months altogether, and still the organization need to survive. The organization needs to grow. The organization needs to take care of all both internal and external stakeholders. So in today's troubled times, with the data which is available within the external system or the internal system, CXO needs to create a strategy which can actually make the organization afloat and survive, and also drive the profitability and take the organization forward. So that's a typical life cycle or responsibility, or the core responsibilities of a CEO. CEO, CFOs, and CXOs of the organization. Moving ahead, let's look at a very thin line or a differentiator between who are good CXOs and great CXOs. So it's a very thin line between both of them, because the availability of the data is actually almost similar to both category of CXOs. A good CXO will definitely create an environment where there is a risk mitigation model, there is a good governance model in place, and they have the capability to take risk. On the other hand, the great CXOs have created some sort of actionable insights on the existing data model or the existing data which is available to them, through which they are able to anticipate major changes in the environment or major changes in the business functioning, or they are able to predict certain shocks. A very classical example could be the shock of oil prices actually dipping. A classical example could be the micro and macro, I'll say, KPIs within the internal or external setups are changing. But in today's pandemic world, like COVID and all, this is actually out of the world. But a lot of CXOs have taken this as an opportunity to reinvent the entire organization, so that they are able to avert the crisis which is there in face of them. So that's a very classical, I'll say, a thin line difference between good and great. And everything what I have said here is actually based on actionable insights or insights into the data which is available to a good or a great CXO. Moving forward, in order to take actionable decisions and in order to actually plan for the future, the availability of the data which is currently there at a click of a button allows a CXO to take immediate and decisions, or they're able to plan their activities on a day-to-day basis, as well as they're able to define the strategy for the organization, so that the organization is profitable, the organization is scalable, the organization takes care of the immediate needs of all the people in the organization. The organization is able to take care of all the requirements or of the compliances, governance, and all that. Whereas from a modern CXO perspective, if I look at what they actually need is basically instant access to the operational data within the organization. When I say instant access, it means that on a daily basis, I should have access to how my cash flow is happening. I should have access to what is the sales happening. I should have access to how my projects are getting delivered on time. I should have access to any critical emergency or critical area within the organization. So a CXO should be able to monitor the progress, the efficiency, the financial management, the risk management of the organization almost in real time. They need to have access to instant data. And as I shared in my first slide, the professional persona of an individual, the CXOs actually need to get this information from almost minimum could be half a dozen systems and maximum could be almost 5, 6, 7 dozen systems within the organization. And all these systems, they need to actually talk to each other, and they need to actually provide data through which a modern CXO can take instant decisions. Moving forward, once the CXO has got access to data through which they can actually create actionable insights, they can also define or design an efficiency and an improvement focus which can drive the organization towards profitability. So critical areas which a CXO can work with the team internally could be, they can revisit and redesign some processes. They can actually look at digital transformation of existing internal systems which could enhance the customer experience. It can enhance the supplier experience. It can enhance the internal stakeholders like all the employees and the partners in the ecosystem. Certain mundane processes which are already working within the organization, they can be actually automated using robotic process automation, both from a work perspective as well as delivering the data in the hand of all the stakeholders. Once the data is available and we are able to deliver this data to all the stakeholders, we are able to provide some actionable insights by advanced analytics. The analytics could be powered through artificial intelligence, or it could be powered through machine learning. If it is a requirement of language base, some insights that need to be provided, natural language processing systems can also be incorporated here. And all this together will provide me with some efficiency and improvement within the organization. But what about the cost saving and expense management? So certain areas which are repetitive in nature and more employee intensive, those processes could actually be outsourced to offshoring entities or offshoring or outsourcing companies who specializes in a particular process or end-to-end business process, something like procure to pay, something like financial process automation, something like help desk, something like customer service setups. So all those type of activities can actually be outsourced, which can also improve profitability as well as cut down on cost within an organization. I think these are the various areas where the need for a CXO today from a data perspective as well as analytics perspective. So going forward, let me have a poll, a very quick poll here, and then we'll actually start our discussion on this topic. Over to you, Sushil.
Yeah, sure. So I would request all of you to answer this poll question. Thank you everyone for your answers. Tarun, you can proceed.
Thanks, Sushil. So I welcome back Harvinder again to the discussion panel. As we have seen that the data is actually available. Harvinder, I would like your views on the representation of the 360-degree view representation on the screen. How do you view this from a data perspective?
Thanks, Tarun. So you know what? In 2006, a very humble man, Clive Humby, he coined one phrase, out of the blue: "Data is a new oil." And like oil, data is also very valuable. At that time, I think most of us would not have understood the importance of data. But if you're comparing that to oil, understand if it is unrefined, if the oil is unrefined, it cannot really be used. Similarly, if data is not mined first and not modeled and analyzed, it has no real value. Today we are struggling with plethora of data floating around. Data सब जगह है हमारे पास, घूम रहा है आसपास हमारे. We have plethora of data floating around, Tarun. The key is whosoever can leverage this wealth with the digital insights, which are at fingertips now for us, and embrace the power of business intelligence clubbed together, they can make a more informal and correct decision, which will definitely lead to commercial growth, evolution, increased bottom line for the corporates. So, जो भी हम data present कर रहे हो, it is actually same thing. This plethora lying around, someone has to think through, mine it properly, model it properly, analyze it properly, use the power of business intelligence clubbed together, and convert to a visualization process which can make a healthy information available to the CXOs to decide on their data. Moreover, whichever corporate today is going to use this, data-driven decision-making approach, typically we try to name it as synchronous as DDM, which is a process that involves collecting data based on, measurable goals or KPIs or patterns, and facts from those insights and utilize them. People can start creating strategies and everything. They can benefit out of this data. The key is modeling, presentation, visualization, clubbed together with the business intelligence. Tarun, to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sarvinder. I think that's a very, very important insight that you have actually summarized from a data perspective, and especially the data is the new oil. I think if you look at how the organizations worldwide are actually working, definitely data is actually the new oil for every one of us, and it is there in everyday life. So it's a good point that we actually started on the data aspect of it. Harvinder, my next question to you would be, how as a CIO would you provide, how would you rather architect, or what would be the mechanisms of this data delivery to the CXOs?
You touched a very important point, Tarun. So today, all the CXOs want the KPI delivered at the doorsteps here. Remember early morning days, earlier times, 7 baje we would get a milkman deliver a milk at our house religiously. Somebody will open the door, open the utensil towards him, he will drop in the milk and go back. That's the view I think CEO carries today. Yeah. Early morning, I should get a ping saying, okay, got something. I open the mobile, click on the mobile. Wow, my 5-6 KPIs lying in front of me. That's the power of data. That's the power of delivery. What we want today. Whenever I go out, a couple of years back, when I was heading the SOGIA entity in India, and my traveling was very high, almost 3 to 4 days a week, I had to struggle a lot for the KPIs. वो शाम को आएगा, सुबह आएगा, and I was very clear, was I need the defined dashboards on my mobile. So trends are changing. Everybody wants mobile first. Forget the strategy as a customer mobile first देने वाले हैं. पहले मैं announce तो mobile first कर लूँ अपने आप को कि can I deliver my KPIs like a milkman? 7 o'clock early morning, tuck, I get a message saying, okay, click this and you have a defined KPIs on that. That's the power what we need today. A lot of business today will have, heterogeneous systems, platforms, Now, as a CXO, I can't look at one revenue from each side. I need a complete integrated picture of it. So daily KPI, I can have detailed segmentation reports and everything. But end of the day, what I need is, can someone tell me a complete sales revenue for the group, for all the business unit? If I want, I can drill down to my next level of individual business units. So can I look at the revenue? Can I look at the collection? Can I look at the risk factor for the entire business and drop? So if we can, and that brings me to the next part of it, the heterogeneous platforms, delivery. The key part is the integration of all this information from heterogeneous platforms, maybe to a single ERP or single platform through which I can deliver my KPIs or view my KPIs on mobile. So mobile first is the word to go. Mobile first for my internal people, internal CXO, internal management. Mobile first for my customers. That should be the delivery proposition today.
Wow, that's actually very interesting, Harvinder. I think it really makes sense by providing data to the CXO on any platform, and a data which is integrated, a data which has got some insights into it, a data which carries information about the organization. I think that's really excellent insight that you have provided, Harvinder. Moving on, what are your views where lot of systems and people as well as the entire ecosystem, what if they are not connected? Or rather, let me put it in a different perspective, what are the challenges of not connected systems or not connected ecosystem? Can you throw some light on that?
It is like left hand को नहीं पता right hand क्या कर रहा है. आज के world में everything is connected. We are talking about IoT. We want to really start the AC remotely from my car. Before I reach home, I want to look at my webcams, what they're doing, what I'm capturing. So entire world is moving towards a connectionless or a connection way of getting things sorted out. So I can share my experience for the financial sector, because 25 years I've spent on running tech operations businesses for the financial sector. So it's like I have a sales team and a collection team, and the same example, left and right hand. Now sales team is good at selling loans, good or bad, ready there to sell the loans. They're doing that, so they're meeting their sales target. Collection team is struggling collecting loans, bad loans, and trying to recover money. And there are different system for collection. Maybe the sales and collection system are not talking to each other. The issue of not talking to each other. Imagine what is going in a business. Sales is independent track. I have a system, I am tracking, I have a mobile, I have connectivity, I am ready to go and source. Collection of mobile, I am going collecting money. So they don't even talk to each other, system not integrated. So no one knows what's happening in the left hand side and the right hand side of the pyramid, right? So I will source a customer, say for one SBU, acquisition comes at a cost. I'm again collecting, collection comes at a cost. If I can't connect both of these together, if I can't tell, if the collection guy can't come back and tell after churning, boss, this data is coming from this particular DSA partner where I have a plethora of bad loans coming from this. Can we stop sourcing from them? Can we penalize the partner? Can we use the partner for getting the loan back to us? If this is not connected, you can imagine what's going to happen. The left side is going upward, the right hand side is going, the railway tracks are not working in parallel. They're working perpendicular each other. So that's the issue of if the data, challenges of the data may not being connected. Other example could be, I may source a customer, say from one SBU. So I'm today running 4 different SBUs. I'm happy, one source of data from one SBU, second from second, third from third, fourth from fourth, all 4 lying idle somewhere else into the respective systems. If I can't get them together, if I can't build a cross-sell base for them, what is the fun of having so much of data lying with me? Again, plethora lying around, I can't connect, I can't leverage each other. I'm just burning my cash on cost of acquisition, but can't use them to build a cross-sell base for me. Can't build a connectivity to figure out what is going right or wrong into my system today. So you can't imagine the world today which is not being connected. As an organization, you can't grow. Forget grow, you won't survive.
Yeah, I think very true. Yeah, very true, Harvinder. I think the need of the today is actually sort of an information highway or sort of an information plane where all the systems are connected, and they're connected in such a way that we are able to get some insights onto what these individual systems or subsystems are doing. Moving on, the most important aspect of data in today's world is security and availability. Security, both from a perspective of access to the data, delivery of the data, and then storage of the data. And availability from a perspective of compliance, it could be a government regulatory compliance of local storage of data within the country, or it could be as simple as providing access of this data through a farm of data centers or places from which I can aggregate the information and provide it to the CXOs today. So I would definitely, since you have actually worked on a huge portion of your career from a security and availability perspective in data centers as well as the operational part of the financial domain, I think it would be really interesting how you actually manage the security and availability of the data. Can you share some experiences on this?
Yeah, Tarun, actually you touched a very sensitive point. So someone comes and asks me a CXO, what keeps you alive? You can't sleep properly, or what is the fear factor always? So these two are the fear factor: the security of my information and the availability. So volumes ek महीना nahi hoga will survive. If I lose the data is not secured, my information is not protected and not available to the right people, the right authorized people. That's worrisome. That gives me sleepless nights. Now, just to add to your security and availability, I like to add confidentiality and integrity a part of this. So that completes a complete triangle, what we call in a technical term CIA: confidentiality, integrity, and availability as a security norm. Now look at entire world, you and all, they're all coming back with the GDPR, protect customer information, protect my information. Being a financer also today, I have a lot of responsibility when I collect information from the customers. I have to ensure my systems are purely secured to store that information. Information is available only to the right person who has access for that information. Records are kept in a secure premises, secure place. Nobody else can access that. Plus the complete retention policy for those records, and I start purging those records when the period is over. That's again, integrity, confidentiality piece covering in that. Now, the problem is, as Indians today, we are not very tuned to protect our personal information. In fact, we are very happy to share our personal information. You go to any of shopping malls, they ask you mobile number, sir, we will give you this scheme, so much of discount. We are happy to share our mobile numbers. Aadhaar card bhi de dete hain, PAN card bhi ho jata hai कई बार online shopping में सब कुछ करते हैं. The sales rep tomorrow could be selling my personal information at 25 rupees in the market. You know what happened during demonetization time? We had to go and submit our Aadhaar card numbers, PAN card papers to the banks to withdraw cash. Plethora of this data, it's all data. Electronic नहीं है तो physical form में है, data तो है, which is all sold in the market. The entire information after that was available for people. Example, take example, live cases with me. So I went to booking.com, tried to book one of the hotels in Jaipur, and then I dropped that. What happened after that? Hours later, when I was looking at my Yahoo or Gmail account, a lot of ads are floating around. Jaipur booking, Jaipur booking, Jaipur booking. What does it mean? My entire information is looked into. Someone is monitoring that. Someone is trying to play a digital initiative with me. Somebody is trying to push me for the booking the hotel and everything. So in trying to protect my information, my personal information, this is what the Indians today, we don't manage it properly. Look at US and all. The unique identification numbers are so secure, people don't want to share. But India, we are happy to share everything about our personal information. Thanks to RBI now, they're forcing entities to store information locally in India. A lot of bureaus earlier, till 6 months back, they were trying to store our information outside India. They're hosting data center out of UK. RBI forced them to move to India. But that is one part of it, that Indian data is lying in India only. But who is using within India is again a challenge for us. Second point is availability of data. It's a guarantee of reliable and constant access to the sensitive data by authorized people. It's very, very important. We should clearly demark who has the access for this data. And how do I protect that? So the number of key points where people can talk about, protecting information, encrypt sensitive files, manage data access, physical security of devices, could be a endpoint security, data leak protection. So there are a number of tools available in the industry which the corporates have to follow, which we also follow. But the point is, first, it starts from the home. The journey begins with people and security from the company. Every person in the company has to be made aware that security is everyone's business. It is not about the CXOs or the tech heads or the infosec of the world people who are supposed to protect information. It is everyone's business. I can only provide tools to protect. I may put right from the endpoint security to protect from antivirus to the DLPs, and I can put firewalls and the WAFs of the world. I may even put multi-factor authentications. All these are good tools to have, but the journey starts from the people in the company. The DNA has to be made clear that security is their business, protecting customer information, their own personal information, is their business. No one else can come and help them on that. So people come and tell, Harvinder, we have two phones, one phones. I always guide boss, keep two phones if you really want to. Don't give your normal phones to your kids to download games. Everything is getting tracked. So if you really want to use mobile banking, net banking, everything on your mobile handset, please keep it separate from your normal phones. Use two phones if you want to. One only your contact list, one only for your other net banking and internet needs. That is my view about security and availability. Tarun.
That's a beautiful insight that you have actually given on security and availability. Obviously, that's a cornerstone for data in today's world. Each one of us definitely expect that the organization that they are providing the data to, they would be ensuring that their data is secure and it is securely available. Very rightly said. I think the onus is not on the organization, but it is also on the individuals themselves. They really need to protect their sensitive information and sensitive data by not, let's say, subscribing to sites or portals or applications which are unsecure. Ensuring that all the communication which is happening is secure using the standard SSL protocols and all that in the life. I think that's a very great insight that you have provided on security and availability. Now moving ahead, now we have data, we have got security, we have got availability. What is your take on how this would provide efficiency and agility to a modern CXO in his day-to-day life?
Yeah, Tarun, very important point. So we've got everything now. We've got the data. We talked about modeling of data. We talked about mining of data first, and then modeling of data. We are trying to secure that information. We are trying to make the data available to the key people. What is left? Make a decision based on that data. So what earlier times in our banking industry, so we used to do credit underwriting or giving a loan or rejecting a loan based on the physical papers. We do it today also, but okay, we look at the credit history, we look at bureau and try to figure out the bureau meaning but we look at how the cash inflow outflow and then make a decision. Cash inflow outflow could all be managed also. Based on that, we used to make a yes no on that. The world is changing. So what we do is we mine data about the customer, we model data about the customer, we build a score based on that and saying, okay, so 2 minutes, you have punched in some 8-10 variables about yourself. Let me try to pull some information from the bureau about your credit. And then can I data model that and say, okay, depending on your behavior analysis, depending on your credit analysis, I am okay to give you a loan. So 5 minutes, the process which used to take a couple of days for doing the physical assessment, I can tell within 5 minutes to the customer saying, okay, sir, I'm okay to give you a loan. This is what decision making is on the go. So within 5 minutes, I said I can either reject a loan or approve a loan based on the data available to me. And data confidentiality is taken care of, modeling is taken care of, mining is taken care of, data is available to me. So all these constitutes together for making me a right decision. This is the power of data and the decision making together. Pointers to you.
This is great. I think I actually remember Harvinder earlier when we worked at City Financials, Path and City together, we actually implemented soft approval of a loan using pagers.
Exactly.
I don't know if you remember that in very old days in early 2000. Yeah.
Correct.
So that was, and we were able to actually do a turnaround in a couple of minutes. There is a soft approval and document collection can start. So yeah, I think that's a very valuable thing, which the availability of the data and the decision-making process, if they are both coupled together, I think you can have a very efficient organization and processes.
Correct.
Great insights. Moving on, Harvinder. We have got efficiency, we have got data, we have got integrations in place. What is your view on cost savings? Can you share some insights on that?
Ultimately, all these things leads to cost saving, my dear friend. So I used to have a plethora of, I remember in earlier days, I had some 100, 150 people doing underwriting for me for personal loan and the business loan. Today, only 50 people can do that. Maybe 1/3 of people can do that. So simple. 75% of load is done by my data modeling and the data score models. So 8 fields captured, 10 fields captured, I can give a go ahead yes no to the customer. So the earlier process of doing a telephone verification, looking at physical documents, then doing a physical verification of those documents, the entire process took take a week, and the manual driven activity is all converted. So 150 people can move down to 50. I have reduced 1/3. My cost is only limited to 1/3 now. Automatically saving for this. Automatically saving for this. And this is not only about the credit process. I'm talking about credit process because my experience is more on the financial sector. So I can give a live related examples of that. The count is very simple. The calculation is very simple on that. Your man force, your process, forget even the efficiencies which will get in the process. I'm simply trying to remark people cost. People cost are related to real estate cost. Real estate cost to electricity cost, to table chair cost, to tea coffee machine in the office. So imagine the power you're going to save with that. It's exponential saving actually. Exponential saving.
Yeah.
And this
I
could
think
be in every field. This could be in every field. For why credit I'm saying, even from operational perspective, I give a live example. So we have 55 banks today in my current company today on which we do a bank reconciliation process. Can you imagine the number of people doing that activity? And how to do a bank recon? There's a monthly banks, there are treasury banks, there are operational banks, and there are 5 SBUs. So much of information and manually doing the entire stuff for 55 banks on daily transactions, lakhs of transactions going into that. So we went to the RPA process, automate the entire process. It was difficult. 55 banks, unheard of. Normally 5-10 banks, but that's the nature of a business today, you know. So 55 banks we put on the RPA. Took us a couple of months to implement that project. And today we are live. So 45 minutes, I get the entire output of the bank recon. The time taken, you know, days, and then the unreconciled entries lying for months and years, we're trying to figure out. Here 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour, depending on the heavy day. System, the bot automatically runs and gives me the output. Look at the efficiency. And you can imagine the number of people doing that activity and the bot doing that activity for me.
Yeah, very
We
true,
can
Harvinder.
automatically calculate the numbers without even sharing what savings we have. We can automatically calculate the savings on this. And this is one process. This could be a number of processes in the company.
Very true, Harvinder. I think that's a very good insight that we have from a cost efficiency and saving perspective. And I definitely I fully agree with you on the aspect of savings here, because that's where the power of integration and the power of data availability to the people, to the organization as a whole is there. And now this actually brings us to a very interesting discussion point. We'll just spend a couple of minutes on a concept of universal integration, where we actually try to see how an organization, with whether it is traditional or evolving, how they are actually working towards providing real-time data anywhere, anytime, and it could be any data. So uh, in a today's scenario, that the traditional applications could be a very core application which is there, which is providing, in our case, let's say in Harvinder, your case, it could be cars on hire, rental cars and all that. Plus, since your experience is on financial industry, lending systems, banking background, all these are traditional applications which are there. But just imagine how much of modernization these applications have actually gone through by providing a mobile app for every process and individual, from a account opening to account closure to payment processing to looking at billing statements, billing schedules, requests for services. Everything is actually done through now handheld devices. All that is
Correct.
possible by doing integration and by providing access to the data in real time. So a few quick words on this concept of universal integration. Harvinder, what's your view on this?
Yeah, Tarun, I started something in 1993, building software for the banks. You know, the first software we used to build was, I don't know, people who on the call may have seen that early times. So there were individual boxes lying, you know, individual desktops lying in the branches. Account number 1 to 10,000, please come to this window. 10,001, come to this window. This was saving bank. This is for current account. This is overdraft accounts. And this could be similar other industries also at that point of time. So first 3-4 years was struggling point getting this in place. Then came a time, you know, let's say we don't want multiple windows, let's have a single window. So we tried, okay, saving bank all combined together, partial branch automation. ये 4 विंडोज में कहीं भी चले जाओ, एक से लेके 1 लाख अकाउंट एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. Then came the world of, you know, full branch automation. So you go to any window, आपको current CC account कहीं से भी एक्सेस कर सकते हो. Fantastic. Then we talk about core banking. So entire features are available in entire systems. You know, you can go and do anywhere. You can go to any branch, any specific location, you can access your account. Fantastic. Then came the boom of, you know, internet, net banking. Anytime, anywhere, I should be in a position to access. I have my account in Citibank for the past 20 years. ये 20 years के अंदर मैं 20 बार ब्रांच के अंदर नहीं गया हूँ. I won't have visited 20 times. Only when I have this, you know, some ESOP or something calculation coming from Citi as a part of Citi. So जो हमारा डॉलर कुछ ESOP के डिविडेंड आता था, वो करने के लिए I had to physically visit the branch. Otherwise, in my lifetime, I have never visited a branch today. Look at the things evolving from, you know, from a desktop-based banking to a core banking to net banking, and you're talking about mobile now. So you're trying to build solution mobile. Forget only mobile banking. You swap your mobile or shake your mobile towards your left side. You will get your bank statement into your email. You swipe to your right side or shake to your right side. You will get your interest certificate. This is what you're talking about. The chatbots availability, the voice bots availability on your mobile, the evolution of voice coming up. Forget even the mobile, I'm saying everything will voice control going forward. अब लोगों को इतना comfort चाहिए कि they don't even want to, you know, type anything. They want to speak. My wife is a teacher, and with this virtualization coming up and work from home and teaching from home, she's learning computers, everything. Now she has to make question papers for the people, for the students. Very difficult. She has no typing habit. She will type 40 questions. So she would learn that process कि बस word में तो dictate करके एक बटन आता है voice के लिए. Why should learn typing? I'm happy to pronounce the wordings. So she's happy, you know, cut. She speaks. It converts to a voice to text with very good accuracy. So type करने में अगर मुझे 1 घंटा लग सकता है, वो 20 मिनट पेपर complete कर लेती है. Look at the power. Look at the power. So what all we need today? You know, we need a comfort level of everything. Whether it is mobile banking, traditional usage, we don't want to use our hands anymore. We are happy to use voice. कल को होगा blink of eyes के ऊपर भी I should be in a position to make my calls or make my decisions. Like I'm saying, swipe mobile towards your left and you get a bank statement into your email ID. You swipe towards right, you get an interest certificate. Simple process. That's how things are evolving today. That's how things are evolving.
I think I can 100% relate with you, just like you being a Citi banker for almost so many years. I too also have accounts in multiple banks, but definitely banks which have evolved and provided lots of facilities, we have seen them grow from data-centric approach to now more data availability approach and application-based availability approach. And the power of that is universal integration.
Yeah, very
so
true.
that brings to a very interesting case study that I would like to share with everyone of here in the webinar. This is an enterprise integration case study that we did for one of our customers in Australia. Just imagine the amount of applications which are there on left and right, and the amount of the work that needs to be done, which was a custom solution. What we did here was we actually replaced a standard SOA suite with a custom solution where all these applications were actually integrated in a bi-directional integration approach, either using web services or using file-based data uploads and downloads. They were all automated. There was workflow management from a maker checker or from a approval process. There was a hierarchy management, who sees what. There was operational data store that got created to create actionable insights on that data for the individual hierarchy or individual people on the go. Any movement of the data within the system and outside the subsystem was integrated, and they were also tracked from a logs perspective. Whenever an integration fails or there is a unavailability of a particular endpoint, because see, when we are talking about integration, the underlying transport mechanism for all these integration is the internet or the network. So there are chances where the network will not be available or could not be made available, or the application systems going down. So there were auto alerts which were configured, and this entire custom solution actually translated into a savings of almost 300,000 Australian dollars annually for the end customer. So pretty nice, pretty straightforward and easy to implement. And how we could do it, because in the end, what we were actually working on was data, and we were trying to create channels to make this data move from one place to another. So with that, we come to the conclusion of our discussion, as well as the integration and the life of a CXO in a day. I'll just hand it over to Sushil for the next poll, and then we'll actually move on to questionnaire session. Sushil, over to you.
Thanks, Tarun. So there would be a poll on your screen right now. Please take a moment to answer the question. Thank you so much, everyone. Now I would like to thank Tarun and Harvinder for such a wonderful session. We will go ahead and take some time for questions now. Just a reminder to everyone, please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel. Once again, thanks Tarun and Harvinder for this lovely session. With that, we end this webinar. Thank you everyone for taking the time and joining us. We really appreciate you being here. Hope you found this session interesting and informative. If you have any questions, you can just write us. My email ID is sushil.kumar1@pathinfotech.com. We will also share the recording of the webinar with all of you very soon. Once again, thank you so much. We will see you next time.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Harvinder,
Sushil,
and thanks
for being such a nice moderator. Thanks, Tarun.